Alright, so today I'm looking up some watches on Poshmark and other kinds of websites where you can buy used watches, and Michele tends to come up pretty frequently, and they're kind of expensive. They're several $100s. I think this one brand new is $300. I picked this one up at a thrift store for $50 because I was curious what these watches were all about because they're so expensive. Fun fact, I took the back off of this watch and it's using a Chinese movement. I think that's probably one of the lowest quality movements you could put in a watch. There's nothing on the dial or the back saying that it uses any other kind of movement, like a Japanese quartz movement or a Swiss movement or anything to that effect. So I was curious how much I could sell this watch for, right? It's not a particularly well-made watch. I don't think it's worth $300. I think this watch, if you like the way it looks, which is the only reason why you would buy something like this, I think $50 is an okay price, but it does have a Chinese movement in it, and this watch has issues. The running seconds hand actually doesn't run properly. It keeps sticking. And I'll unstick with the demagnetizer. That's one way to kind of loosen up some of the parts in a quartz watch that sticks. But it'll go back to sticking. And, you know, there's Swiss movements that also do the same thing. I've got a Victorinox that has the same problem. If they sit for too long, it'll happen. So I was curious what people are trying to get for this watch. And I keep seeing them online. And I don't really think that they're worth what people are asking. Like, this is a similar model to what I have. They want $300 for that. And then if we keep going down, this one's kind of similar to what I have, $420 for that one. And these might not be exact models, but I mean, just look at how expensive these watches are. It looks like some of them do have Swiss on the dial, so those might be higher end Swiss made watches, and I guess there's a possibility that this could be a fake, but check this out. So if we look at this one, it doesn't say anything on the dial that I can see. Those are reflections. It seems like the reviews on Amazon, people think that they're getting a knockoff, but I don't feel like this is a fake. I feel like this is... it's the real deal. I mean, it's got the sign clasp and everything. Yeah, I'm not convinced that my watch is fake. Primarily because every watch of this model I see online looks exactly like the one I have. So, like if we go to Amazon, you also see that people are complaining about how the chronograph is sticking. At least I thought there was. Yeah, here we go. Sweep his hand, stops and freezes all the time. This is because it's using a very cheap Chinese movement. If it was using a higher quality Japanese movement, which would cost them a little bit more than Chinese, but I think when they charge $300 for a watch like this, I'm pretty sure they could afford to put a better movement in it. They don't have to meet margins that badly, do they? But for a $300 watch, this is exactly the kind of issue I'm getting. The sweeping seconds hand, they're referring to the chronograph feature. Mine, the running seconds hand is the one with the issue, so it's the one that's supposed to be running at all times. So yeah, I don't really think these watches are worth as much as people are trying to get for them on eBay. Going with the lowest first. So this is a watch for parts, which is what I might have to sell my watch for. Because if the running seconds hand doesn't work, then this is probably what I could get for it. And they took a best offer on this too. I wonder what was wrong with their watch now that I have it up. Because there's other ones that aren't sold that are for parts as well. Watch is not working, selling as parts. Okay, so their issue's a little more severe than mine. But I would guess that they probably got like $20 for that. This one went for less than 50 because they took a best offer. This one's pre-owned for 60. 88-ish, 94. And this one actually had 9 bids on it, and it has white ceramic, so I don't think this one has white ceramic, but I could be wrong. It sure looks the part, doesn't it? Yeah, mine looks exactly like this. And notice that the dial doesn't say Japanese, it doesn't say Swiss, it doesn't say anything, and that's exactly what this one's like. Let's see if they got a... Yeah, even the case back. Yeah, the case back is the same as well on my watch. 5 ATM, which is, what is that, 50 meters? Which isn't much, but it does have a screw back, screw-on case back, which is nice. But yeah, my model is the exact same as that, and even the band with the texturing on it it's all the same. And mine's in better condition than this, except for the fact that the movement doesn't work. And they got $94 with 19 bids, so that's interesting. I don't think it's worth $100, but some people are paying that much for this watch. It seems like a little over 100 is what they go for. Here's a brand new one. Let's see what this one's all about. So this has the tags, the box, everything, even the bag that it comes with. I think these are sold at like Nordstrom or something. I think they're sold at some outlet stores around. But see, this looks really good. So mine has the red bit on it as well on the crown, just like this one. Case back looks right as well. So they sold this for $200 because I believe it's a $300 watch, like I was saying. They don't mention that here, but I don't think it's worth that much. And look, this also doesn't say if it's a Japanese quartz or Swiss quartz. So that's how you know. If you don't see that on the watch anywhere, including the case back, chances are it's a Chinese movement, because they usually say made in Japan or Japanese quartz or something like that. So these are not using the best movements, in my honest opinion. Now, if we go back to listings that are still active, we should be able to find a listing for this watch. Here it is. So it says read. Usually when you see that, it means it has a problem. Let's see what this watch's problem is. Some discoloration on band. The bezel is cracked and broken. So this bezel doesn't rotate, as far as I could tell. So it doesn't seem like this one has an issue with the movement specifically, but it does look like, yeah, the watch has seen better days. So if we go back here, so yeah, the next one down is going for $100. My honest opinion, I really like less than 50. Sure, I think that's fair. It does have a Chinese movement in it though, and like mine has issues. So that's what you get when you pay for a watch this expensive, and it's arguably pretty well made. I mean, it's a nice looking watch. It's very, very, very fashionable. I don't know if the strap is leather or silicone, but it feels nice, and the buckle is signed, and the crown has that really nice sign, red M and M on it. So I mean, it's a nice watch, but I don't think it's worth 300. Less than 50, I think, is what I think somebody should pay for this, and that's what I paid for it. I paid about 50. So just FYI, a little bit of information about Michele watches. They're not quite what they seem, but there are some versions where they do say that they're like Swiss made or Japanese made, and those are going to be better watches, but I get the feeling that they're also going to be more expensive watches. Like this one so it has a sapphire crystal. This also has a mineral crystal, so you're paying $300 for a watch that doesn't have a sapphire crystal, which is another thing that is kind of cheap. But if I had to guess, this one probably has a Swiss movement in it. I mean, it has some information down there, but like I can't read it because people don't put the best listings up. This is a $3,700 watch. So yeah, it says Swiss movement right here. And it might even say that on the case back as well if they have a really good photo of that, which they don't. The case back is usually what has all of the information on the watch. I don't understand why people don't have good, clear photos of the case back. I think it's because case backs are usually like they're scraped up and they look bad because somebody who doesn't know how to change a battery in a watch tried changing the battery in the watch and they mess it up and scrape up the back of the watch. But yeah, so some of these higher end ones look like they have the right movements in them. This is a Swiss movement watch as well, so that's better. This watch might actually last, but it's also $800. One of the cheaper ones, $300 for a Chinese movement. It doesn't make any sense. So I think you really got to look into the specific model you're going to buy to make sure that the movement. I think the movement's the biggest issue, because otherwise I think it's an okay made watch. I mean, you know, this other eBay listing says that the watch bezel was damaged, probably from dropping it, but yeah. So this says Swiss movement on it as well. So that's much better. But again, I still feel like these might be. So it's got sapphire, Swiss movement. It's got some diamonds in it, which is okay. This is a much better, well-made watch. I want to say it's probably on the same level as Invicta or Swiss Legend or any other, like JBW. I think these are probably better than JBW because they do use Chinese movements. I sold one of their watches and I took the back off to replace the battery, and it was using a Chinese movement, but it had a lot of diamonds on it. But it was using a Chinese movement. So I get the feeling people aren't buying these kinds of fashion watches for their engineering. They're using them for their bling, so to speak. So yeah. Just, yeah, double check the watch you're actually looking at. Make sure it's got a good movement in it. And yeah, if you could try to get these for like a sixth of retail, that's probably worth it. But otherwise, I would stay away from these cheaper Michele watches for sure. They just don't seem like they're as well made as they should be, considering the Chinese movement. So that's all I have to say about that. Yeah, I will see you all later.